Jaya Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Bol, Jaya Om Vishnu Pad, Paramahansa, Pura Project Acharya, Asatara Satashi Shimai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharyas of Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Prabhishta Om Vishnu Pad is Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sukhosh Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopana Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Brajabhumi Dhamadham Ki Jai. Shri Navarit Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Nilachal Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Srimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. The most beautiful worship, Shri Shrikmeni Dwarkadish Ki Jai. Shri Shrikmeni Dwarkanath Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Going back to home, back to Godhead Ki Jai. ISKCON Los Angeles Yatra Ki Jai. Brihad Bhadaga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. International Food for Life Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glory Srila Prabhupada. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, who is the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayeshu Padreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving devotional service unto the personality of God, whose worship of transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing our reading from the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is chapter 16, and today's text is 27. Brahmovacha Atate Munayo Drishtva Nayanananda Bhajanam Vaikuntang Tadadishtanam Vikuntang Cha Swayam Prabham Brahmavacha Atate Munayo Drishtva Nayanandabhajanam Vaikuntam Tadadishtanam Vikuntang Cha Swayam Prabham Brahmavacha Atate Munayo Drishtva Nayanandabhajanam Vaikuntang Tadadishtanam Vikuntang Cha Swayam Prabham. Please chant. Brahmavacha Vaishnavis. Nayanandabhajanam Vaikuntang Tadadishtanam Vikuntam Cha Swayam Prabham Nayanandabhajanam Vaikuntam Tadadishtanam Vikuntam Cha Swayam Prabham Brahmavacha Atate Munayo Drishtva Please forgive me, my mother was a school teacher, so I always like to correct other people's mistakes. But just another Sanskrit hint. You have to break the words into syllables, so that last word on the first line is not drishtva, it's drishtva. So you break drishtva. But because of our English inculcation, we like to break things differently. But it's actually two syllables, drishtva, not drishtva. Okay, synonyms. Brahma Uvacha. Lord Brahma said. Ata, now. Te, those. Munayaha, sages. Drishtva. One more time. Drishtva. after seeing, Nayana of the eyes, Ananda pleasure, Bhajanam producing, Vaikuntam the Vaikunta planet, Tat of him, Adhishtanam the abode, Vikuntam the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Cha and Swayam Prabham self-illuminating. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. Lord Brahma said, after seeing the Lord of Vaikunta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the self-illuminated Vaikunta planet, the sages left that transcendental abode. Please repeat. Lord Brahma said, after seeing the Lord of Vaikunta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the self-illuminated Vaikunta planet, the sages left that transcendental abode. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The transcendental abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita and confirmed in this verse, is self-illuminated. In Bhagavad Gita it is said that in the spiritual world there is no need of sun, moon, or electricity. This indicates that all the planets there are self-illuminated, self-sufficient, and independent. Everything there is complete. Lord Krishna says that once one goes to that Vaikunta planet, he never returns. The inhabitants of Vaikunta never return to the material world, but the incident of Jaya and Vijaya was a different case. They came to the material world for some time and then they returned to Vaikunta. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshtarane Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unvalitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishnang Snapitang Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishavangsha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Purjana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishamanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Pre Vancha Kopaturubhya Shah Kripa Sindhu Mevacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Brahma Vacha, Lord Brahma said, we should take note, just like when we hear Sri Bhagavanu Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, immediately we should be attentive. What is God saying? So Lord Brahma is the founder of our Sampradaya, and everything that we learn is supposed to be learned through Sampradaya. Sampradaya Vihinam Mantraste Nishpalam Mata. Mantraste Nishpala. Pala means fruit. Nishpala means no fruit. If you don't get your mantra coming from the Sampradaya, then you're not going to get any benefit out of it. It sounds good. Many people go around chanting all kinds of mantras. People who are not even first initiated chant Gayatri mantra. They're not getting any benefit out of it. They just read it on the internet and they chant it. Benefit comes when you're connected. Prabhupada used the example of the outlet on the wall. If it's not connected to the power generating station, then you can keep plugging your iPhone or whatever in there, you're not going to get any, it's not going to recharge. It has to be connected. So whatever knowledge we're getting, it has to be connected to the supreme source of knowledge through the Sampradaya, which is compared to the wiring that connects you to the power station. So the Lord Brahma is speaking, we should listen attentively. Atate Munaya. Now these sages, so which sages we know he's talking about? The four Kumaras. Just after seeing, Nayana Ananda Bhajanam. Some or other, this second line didn't make it into the translation. If we go back and read the translation, it says, Lord Brahma said, after seeing the Lord of Vaikuntha, the Supreme Personality of God, and in the self-illuminated Vaikuntha planet, the sages left that transcendental abode. So this second line of the verse didn't make it into translation. I don't know if Prabhupada just decided not to put it in, or some or other got lost while through, because you know how the books were put together. Prabhupada dictated, then that reel was sent where somebody transcribed listening to the reel and typed the English. So sometimes things got lost, and so this second line got completely lost. The second line says, Nayana Ananda Bhajanam. Nayana of the eyes, Ananda pleasure, Bhajanam producing. So by seeing the Lord, their eyes became overwhelmed with pleasure. That's not mentioned in this translation somehow. But we'll keep that in mind. They're seeing the Lord, and their eyes are being overwhelmed by the pleasure of seeing the Lord. So we get a perverted reflection of that here. But what are we looking at? See, this is what education reveals to us. We try to get the same pleasure. They're looking at the Supreme Person, his bodily features, his dress, everything, his jewelry, everything, and it's just producing unlimited pleasure in their eyes. We look at other bodies, and what are we looking at? And we know because we have a body. What is our body made of? It's a bag of skin full of bone, blood, and all that. But some or other, we're trying to squeeze pleasure out of looking at a similar body. So that immediately tells us that we're in illusion. We're in illusion. If you look at a bag of skin, somebody gives you, or even a complete body, but there's no life, we're not interested. So what's actually attractive is the life, the living force. It's not the body. If we insist on trying to squeeze pleasure, visual pleasure out of another material body, then we know we're in illusion. There's no pleasure there. And the proof is, again, if somebody gives you an intact, even the most beautiful, handsome body, but there's no life there, you're not interested. No, I'm sorry. Bury it, burn it, whatever you do in your tradition, but I'm not interested. So when we take interest in a body, it's because that body's alive. And so what is that life force that's missing from that dead body? They look similar, although generally speaking, we can tell when a body is not alive. There's just something missing. You can't necessarily put your finger on it. But not always. Sometimes somebody's freshly dead and they don't know for sure, so they keep trying to figure out, is this person dead or alive? They use the cotton swab vision like they used for Lord Chaitanya and Jagannath Puri, or they prick it with a pin to see if there's any reaction. But generally speaking, when you see a dead body, I've told this story before. The very first person I saw die in front of me, I was a child, and somebody got hit by a bus. I was about 8 or 9 years old. Bam! Fell down. And immediately I could tell that something was draining out of that body. The life force was leaving. You could see it. And I'm not talking about blood coming out of it. You could see that the body was just gradually fading. You could see like that. So what is that thing that fades away from the body at the time of death? That's the soul leaving. And that's what's actually attractive. Because after that body got hit by the bus, it was still intact, more or less. But nobody would be attracted because there's no life there. So the living force is what's attractive. And God, Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu, Krishna, the original, they're the most attractive because they're the supreme living force. So they're supremely attractive. So even when we go to Vaikuntha, like the sages did, the 4 Kumaras did, there are so many other bodies there, persons there. They're not just bodies, they're persons, because there's no difference between the person and the body in Vaikuntha. There are so many other persons there. They're also very, very attractive, but still the Lord is most attractive. So they didn't come back. How do we know what's going on, what happened in this whole incident? Brahmovacha, we're hearing from Lord Brahma. He started out this whole thing because the demigods asked him, why is the universe getting dark, what's happening? So he told them this whole story. But was he present? No, he didn't go to Vaikuntha. So how did Lord Brahma know? How did he know what happened there? Well, one of 2 ways. Either the sages, his sons, the 4 Kumaras, told him when they came back, or it was revealed within his heart by the Lord, just like we know, Tene Brahma Rada Adikava. The Lord is in everyone's heart, and He's actually revealing to all of us something at every moment, but not necessarily the highest truth, because we don't want to hear the highest truth. Lord Brahma accepted and heard the highest truth from the Lord because that's what he was searching for. He was searching for the truth. After his birth on the lotus, he was searching for the truth. So the Lord revealed to him the highest truth. And based on that revelation, as Prabhupada says in the prelude to the Brahma Samhita prayers that he recorded, that it was revealed to him that the Supreme Lord is, a cowherd boy being attended by maidservants, etc. All of that was revealed to him in his heart because he was looking for the truth. We also have the super soul in our heart, but we're not necessarily looking for the absolute truth. We're looking for where to find my next material happiness fix. See? Material happiness fix. So this whole chapter begins actually with Brahmovacha. The very first of the chapter, let me call it up here. It's interesting. The very first verse of this chapter, yes, Lord Brahma said, after thus congratulating the sages for their nice words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose abode is in the kingdom of God, spoke as follows. So again, how does he know? He wasn't there. So either the sages came back or told him, or the Lord revealed in his heart, or both. Then, interestingly, from text 2, down to text 16, I think. No, to text 15. Then Lord Narayan is speaking. Again, how does Lord Brahma know? Again, he heard from the four Kumaras that it was revealed to him what the Lord was saying. This whole thing could be prefaced by, every verse could be prefaced in this section by Brahmovacha, because he's the one telling. It's just like if I tell you that yesterday I heard a conversation between Subhas and Brigupati. So then I will say, well, then Subhas said, and then Brigupati said, but I'm the one that's telling you. So you could actually go and tell somebody and said, Arcita said that, Subhas said, Brigupati said. So in this case, Lord Brahma is telling the demigods that Lord Vishnu said, and then the four Kumaras said again, and then so from 16, the sages speak, and in 17, the Lord starts speaking again, and then the four sages start speaking again from 16. And then 26, the Lord replied, one verse, and now we are at 27, Lord Brahma is speaking. So what did the sages went? It was a round trip. It wasn't a one-way. The point is made in today's purport that normally it's a one-way trip. You leave this material world, you go to Vaikuntha, and you stay there. But in this case, it was a round trip. The sages went and they came back. Many of us would like to do that. We're still not so sure, even after decades of chanting Hare Krishna, that the spiritual world actually exists, Krishna is actually there. So we'd like to book a Vaikuntha airline round trip, just to go check it out and come back, so we can say, yeah, it really exists. We're not so sure. We're not even so sure there's a Lord Brahma. Can you actually prove, do you actually deep down believe that there's the firstborn person in this universe with 4 heads and 4 arms, and he rides around on a swan? You tell that to the average person on book distribution, they say, yeah, right. What are you guys smoking? I want some of that. So, this whole Bhagavatam presentation, it's not so easy to swallow when you're materially conditioned. And therefore, purification is required. The more we become purified by practice of Bhakti Yoga, the more these things are revealed to us. We will actually begin to understand that, yes, there is a Lord Brahma with 4 heads, 4 arms, and he can go anywhere in the universe at a split second. Doesn't need any Sputnik or SpaceX or anything like that. He can go anywhere he wants in the universe. The universe starts, he's born, the universe will end, and Lord Brahma will die. He either goes back to Vaikuntha if he's pure, or he again has to take birth, like everybody else. We're all wound up in the body of Mahavishnu, and will come out again at the next creation. So this looking for happiness, the sages went there out of curiosity. They saw the Lord. Their eyes were overwhelmed by his beauty. They came back to the material world. We're all here, we're looking for happiness. And we're, birth after birth, convinced that happiness means eating, sleeping, mating, defending, intoxication, all these things. This is convinced lifetime after lifetime. And even after we take to this path, we're susceptible. Prabhupada said in the first canto that one should not be surprised if somebody falls away from this path, being allured by money and women. It's such a strong force. Even when we know, we've heard from the authorities, this is the problem. Don't be deluded. Don't fall into illusion again. Still, it happens. So we should take it, each one of us individually, very seriously. It's our responsibility. Having heard, it's our responsibility to stay on the path and stay out of illusion. Krishna says that in the 4th chapter, that if you get knowledge from a pure devotee, they can give you knowledge because they've seen the truth. And one of the things that will happen is that you won't fall into illusion again if you actually hold on to that knowledge. Money is not the solution. Everybody's striving to get more and more and more money, thinking it's going to bring happiness. I just saw recently a documentary about an Indian reservation, Cherokee reservation in Appalachia. So this reservation of Cherokee Indians, they're considered to be a sovereign state. They don't have to answer to the U.S. government. There are about 30,000 of them, and they're fabulously rich. In general, Appalachia is a very poor area of the United States, but this particular settlement, they're fabulously rich. And what's their main source of income? Casino. They have a gambling casino, so gambling. They're making money off other people's misery. And they make so much money, billions of dollars, that every single one of them has a bank account with lots of money. The guy who was being interviewed, one of the Cherokee Indians was being interviewed, so the guy asked him, how you make your income? He said, casino and tourism, billions of dollars. So he said his daughter is still in high school, but all the children have bigger bank account. When they get to be 18, he said when she's 18, she'll have about $500,000 in the bank already set up. So when they get to be 18, they give them 25% of whatever is in their bank account. So in his daughter's case, she'll get $125,000 just for turning 18. So she told him that she wants to go to college. He said, why? Why waste your time? Go see the world. You have money. Everybody's going to college to make money. You already have money. Go see the world. Have a good time. Then when they get to be 21, they give them another 25%. But it keeps growing. But let's just say it was static at 500,000. So at 21, she gets another 125,000. And then when they turn 25, they have full access to whatever's in their bank account. And again, it keeps growing. Because as the community makes money, they keep dividing it up amongst everybody. Now, the guy asked this Indian guy, he said, are there any problems in your community? He said, yeah, there are problems. We have problems. Yes, we're rich, but we have problems. He said, like what? Alcoholism. Big problem. He said, a lot of our members turn to alcohol. Big problem. What are the problems? Domestic violence. Here it is. They have money coming out their ears. They still are susceptible to intoxication and violence against each other. I'm not talking about, forming a war party and going to attack the white people for what they did hundreds of years ago. No. Against each other. Domestic violence. So we all know, theoretically, that money is not the solution. But here are people, and there are many other people who have much more money than that, and they still have problems. So one of the responsibilities of grihastas, the primary responsibility, is to populate the world with Krishna-conscious children. But then you have to educate them properly. You have Krishna-conscious children, and then they turn out just like everybody else, chasing after the dollar. What's the use? What's the use? And it's not just here in America. I just read a conversation also Prabhupada was having with Vrindavan Day. And they were talking about their family members, that one segment in the family, they inherited so much money, crores and crores of rupees. And the same problem, Prabhupada said, and what did they do? Simply drunkards. Here it is. They come from a high-class Indian family, Vedic tradition, and they made lots of money, so they're materially well settled. They had the spiritual background, and what they do with the money? Drunkards. So again, it's not just a Western or an American problem. It's all around the world. So devotees have to train their offspring that the prime responsibility in their life is to make progress on the path of Krishna consciousness. Not to just make money like everybody else, chase after the almighty dollar or rupee or whatever, euro. It's not going to make you happy. You have to be convinced of that. Otherwise, Maya keeps giving the same, come with me, make more money, have fun, get high, chase after sense gratification. So it's this big responsibility. It won't happen if you don't try. Too often in this day and age that we live in, the parents surrender to the children way too early. So many times you see parents asking their 5-year-old children, what do you want, sweetheart? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? A 5-year-old child is not equipped to make those kinds of decisions. You're supposed to lead them. Take them where they're supposed to go, namely, come to the temple. Tell them what they're supposed to listen to, not give them an iPad or whatever and access to the internet and they can do whatever they want. A lot of people surrender at that age already, 5, 6 years old. They're getting on the internet, doing whatever they want, any sites they want to go to. That's abrogation of parental responsibility. So I'm speaking to the choir, but also a lot of our young people here are going to get married in some time and they're going to have children. This is your prime responsibility. Otherwise, don't get married. Stay in the brahmachari ashram. Stay in the brahmacharini ashram. If you're going to get married, take it seriously. This is the prime responsibility. First of all, to produce Krishna conscious children and keep them on the Krishna conscious path. Don't allow them to stray. Yes, when they get older, they'll have to find their own way and make their own decisions. But if they don't have that foundation of solid bhakti yoga, then they will obviously not be equipped to make the right decisions. It's unfortunate that we have to allow a lot of our Krishna conscious kids to go to regular schools. Because Prabhupada said repeatedly, these materialistic education institutions, they're slaughterhouses. They're slaughterhouses. And quite often, you know, our parents in ISKCON don't like to hear that. I've told this story before, but when I was in San Diego in the early 90s, I gave a class once and I mentioned them, you know, quoting Prabhupada, how these educational institutions are slaughterhouses. And I got berated by one Mataji, householder. How can you say that? What do you want them to do? Stay in ISKCON and become just nobodies, and they have to go to school, they have to get an education, they have to go out in the world, and she was like, yes, Mataji, whatever. A few months later, Columbine happened. Columbine High School. The first really mass killing at a high school in America. So literally, it was a slaughterhouse. Not just figuratively that they're being slaughtered by not getting the right education. Literally became a slaughterhouse. And ever since then, practically on a regular schedule, some high school, some college, somewhere, somebody goes and shoots up the place. So we should take it seriously. In this material world, it's not a place of happiness. And no amount of arrangement, education or financial or this or that, is going to make it a happy place. Only happiness is Krishna consciousness. To the degree that we become Krishna conscious, to that degree we can taste genuine happiness through our eyes, seeing the beautiful form of the Lord, associating with devotees, and engaging in the highest welfare activity. As was mentioned this morning, so I was reading. Prabhupada said, the highest welfare activity is to spread Krishna consciousness. So if we plug into that, and by Prabhupada's mercy, we don't have to figure out how to do that. All of that is already figured out. Book distribution, prasadam distribution, Harinam, deity worship, festivals, all these things are already figured out. You don't have to figure it out. Nobody has to join the Krishna consciousness movement and figure out how to spread Krishna consciousness. It's already figured out. Just plug into it. Learn how to distribute books from Brigapati and others. Learn how to worship the deities. We have such very highly skilled pujaris here. Learn how to maintain the temple. That's also part of it. Property management, Arcita Prabhu. Join that division. Everything here is essential that we're doing. And if you're one of those all-rounders who can do it all, fix the buildings, go out and distribute books, worship the deities, cook, then fine. Some devotees are like that. They can do it all. They've got all those skills, but more or less, most of us, we plug into one department. Book distribution, prasadam distribution, harinam. Education is also a big part of it. We're supposed to have our gurukulas, where at least at the young age they get trained properly. Yes, they learn how to read, how to write, how to do math, but they also learn about Lord Kapila Dev. They learn about Prahlad Maharaj, how he was so highly elevated, he was not disturbed by anything his father did. Nowadays the kids are disturbed by anything. Oh, mommy, the internet went down. How can I do anything? No, be like Prahlad. His father was trying to kill him. He was not disturbed. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Completely undisturbed. That is real life. That is real upbringing of a child, to bring them up to be more and more like Prahlad. Not, I want. And no matter how much you give them, we know, I mean, the parents know. You give them the latest toy. 2 weeks later, it's either broken or thrown in a closet somewhere. They don't care anymore. So again, what's the use? Krishna will not be impressed by how many toys your child has or even which school they went to. Nowadays, and I'll wind up with this because, again, devotees are still enamored of this, modern day education. The big news nowadays is that it's being revealed how much cheating goes on in the educational system. Recently, the president of Stanford, one of the most prestigious universities in the United States, had to resign. Why? Because he was conducting experiments and giving false results. And based on those false results, he was being glorified as being a big researcher. Falsifying the results. The president of the university. So just imagine those on the lower level. And it's not just an isolated case. All over America, all over academia, all around the world, they're finding out how many cheaters are there. They're presenting their papers, and those papers are being peer-reviewed, and the people glorifying them. And when you really dig, and at Stanford, the person who discovered it was a freshman. He was looking at the results that the president was presenting of his research, and he said, this doesn't add up, it doesn't sound right. A freshman. So he dug deeper and deeper, and the deeper he dug, he realized the president is cheating. So the guy was revealed as a cheater. He had to resign. And then he discovered so many others all over academia. So we're not poking fun at academia. Academia is meant to give real knowledge. And real knowledge, real intellectualism means, as Prabhupada defines intelligence in the Bhagavad Gita, to know the difference between matter and spirit and the source of both. That's real knowledge. That's real education. So if you have a BA, MA, PhD, and you don't know the difference between matter and spirit and the source of both, then your education is incomplete at best. We would even go further to call you some not so nice names. Because when the end of life comes, most people have to face the Yamadutas because they didn't take the time to learn the difference between matter and spirit and to understand the source of both. Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sorry, I went over time.